was still incarcerated the first 12 months of COVID.
COVID.
And what COVID did for society is show them what incarceration looks like.
Like, wow.
You got challenges that you're going to run across.
The system is slower in Georgia.
Georgia.
It saddens me to see some of the ways that they handle things in Georgia. It really does. It really does. And it breaks my heart the way they handle things in Georgia. You can automatically vote when you get out of prison in Ohio. You
Okay.
can't do that here.
Really?
They took my voting rights away from me when I got here. You have a different parole system here. You have a different, you just have a different parole system here. They don't even see the parole board. We actually sit in front of the parole board and talk to them. They talk to our families and the victims.
When you say sit in front of them, you mean Ohio.
In Ohio.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
In
but
Ohio,
in Georgia, you don't.
No, they just get paperwork telling them, here's what it's going to be. That's it. That's all. None of that happens in Ohio. So the system is, it hurts my soul the way they're treated like they don't even matter.
So
it's like they don't even matter.
So they
They're
make a
human
decision,
beings, though.
right?
How are you going to know if they changed if you don't see them? If you don't talk to them?
That's the question I was about to ask. So they just make a decision based on the day that you came up on and say you either paroled or not.
Yeah, that's how they do it.
Who are they talking to about that? They talking to
I don't know. I was so shocked when I found out. And I didn't find out until last year that that's how they did it here. And I was like, what do you mean they don't go before the parole board? They said, no, they don't go on the date that they're supposed to be considered. The parole board considers them and they just get paperwork. I'm like, what?
That's men and ladies prison?
That's how the system is done here. Parole board is parole board. Male or female does not matter. Parole board is parole board. And that's not the way we do it in Ohio. So that's very different. Ohio has a lot of very innovative programming too. And I will say this, Georgia is trying to go that way now. They're trying to get there. They're definitely trying to get there. But just as some of the Georgia laws are slower than in Ohio, so are the laws within the prison system. You know, so.
What's the biggest, I mean, I'm always looking for either something that was a shocker to you or something that was maybe surprising to you. Once that maybe one of the individuals that you've been talking to that was released, and I mean, they don't have anybody to go anywhere but the halfway house, but was it anything that shocked you about a person talking to you and saying, this is what's going on in my life after being in prison for a while?
That was shocking to me?
Yeah,
of somebody that was being released?
Yeah. Like maybe they had, go ahead.
After 27 years of incarceration, very little shocks me.
Shocks you, I got you.
Remember now, if I was sitting in prison for 27 years, I was watching people come back.
Right.
Like a revolving door. We call them a life on the installment plan.
Right.
You know, so I watched people come back and I would ask them questions, you know, like what's going on with you? What happened out there? That type of thing. Hey, I would start by saying, I'm glad to see you, because a lot of people judge them when they come in. I don't. I'm glad to see you because at least you're alive. Now the question is, what was going on with you? You know, how'd you live your life this time? Things of that nature. So very little shocked me. Very little shocks me to this day, because I was around people who had some of the most extreme lifestyles, who grew up as children in extreme lifestyles. And to know that they survived just to even come to prison was a miracle. So nothing shocks me. Tony, I accept people exactly where they're at. And I just try to help them where they're at.
I saw a story.
What shocks me is how society can be so insensitive.
Right. I mean, I agree totally with that. The last movie I watched, it talked about the three things that were going to happen. First was isolation. I think that was COVID. The second one was, I forget, it's like a civil war, something similar to that. And the third one was how people turn against each other. And that's what you're seeing now, is that how people are just really don't care about you anymore. They just don't. It's just like it's like you said, insensitive. And
Yeah. Yeah, they've been desensitized all the way
right,
around, all the way
right.
around. And the most ironic thing is what COVID did to society as a whole. And we sat in prison and said this because
Mm-hmm.
I was still incarcerated the first 12 months of COVID.
COVID,
And what COVID did for society is show them what incarceration looks like.
like, wow.
Because we were sitting in prison where we had to stay stationary and all of this. It was no problem for us. We had done it every day.
Right, right, right.
So it was like,
Yeah,
this is what we've been doing.
right.
And it was very hard for a lot of people in society. They dealt with it in very extreme ways because they actually started to see what we were going through.
Mm-hmm.
It ended with a lot of marriages being broken, suicides, mental health challenges being created from that. So
Right.
all those things were what we went through every day in the prison system.
The isolation is hell. I don't know how
Yeah.
people. I mean, folks start breaking up, all kind of stuff because of that isolation, being together with a person or that you normally not. And I think about the guy that the big gang member in Chicago that's been in jail for like 40 some years.
Just don't leave that area.
Larry Hoover. That's his name.
Okay. Oh,
Larry
I know what you're
Hoover.
talking about. Yeah.
So he was a former mobster and gang kingpin, founder of the Disciples.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But he's been, and they got him in Arizona somewhere in isolation in a cell with nothing in there, and he's been doing that. He's been doing that for like 20 years. I mean, he's in straight isolation. When he come out, he got a little cage he can walk around.
Right.
And the government claims they still can't release him because he has power. He has no power. The kids ain't listening to him. Even when he get out, he didn't have power. But the government keeps saying that's why they're gonna keep him in. That isolation, man, is the devil.
Yeah. It can be. It is very harsh. It's very harsh. Like you said, they come out for maybe up to 2 hours a day. They have to let him out for up to 2 hours a day, and they can only move within a cage area. What he is he's the highest level. That's why he can only come out like that.
Right.
And if you're in isolation, you're either in there for protective custody or because you're a bad individual. So a dangerous individual, what they consider a dangerous. You're not necessarily bad.
They claim, dangerous is he still has influence.
Which he may have. Please understand that just because you are incarcerated does not mean that you don't have the same flow that you can have. You can still have all that flow. If I can parent from prison, he could run a gang from prison. So it can happen. But the issue here is keeping him in that cell does not stop that power. Do you understand what I'm saying? He should be able to mingle amongst the rest of the rank and file within that prison.
Yeah.
What you're doing is you're trying to break him down. You're breaking him. You're trying to break him. Now, if he's not on medication, he's keeping his mental and spiritual up in extreme ways. To keep himself together, because some of them can still keep themselves together, but you're still going to come out of there with some serious scars when you do finally get out. But keeping him in that cell is not keeping him from any contact. As long as he has contact, he has power. So that's a ridiculous reason for keeping him caged like that.
I don't know how much contact he gets.
He can have correspondence. He can, just because you're in isolation, they still have to let you correspond. They still have to let you have phone calls. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can even have visits. You just do it in the isolation area.
But I'm saying these kids today don't care about none of that. They ain't listening to that. I mean, they'll shoot a. They don't care. You don't press me. These kids are crazy out here, man.
The kids are, but they're not the only people in the world.
But I'm saying who he's going to lead. I don't know who he could get out and lead.
He could still lead the band of people that he led. They're not dead. They're all still living. He can't do anything with the youngest generation, but the generations in front of them, we're all still alive. So he still yields some power, But the point is, keeping him in that cage is not diminishing his power in any way. If anything, you're making it a martyrdom out of his power by doing that. You know what they're trying to do? They're not trying to diminish his power. They're trying to diminish him as a man.
Trying to break him.
Yeah. So the excuse they use is that.
But when you think over 40 years he'd be broken by now?
No.
Really?
I wasn't broken in 27. 13 more wouldn't have broke me either. You can't break our spirit if we don't want it broken. You understand what I'm saying? No. People used to ask me all the time, how can you smile every day? Why shouldn't I smile every day? It's up to me to find joy in my day, regardless of my circumstances. So, no, they can't break his spirit if he doesn't want it broken. If he's strong enough, they can't break his spirit. But they'll keep trying. They'll keep trying. Because they want to show him that they have the power now.
You know, they wind up killing Tukey in prison out in California. He was one of the large, but Tukey had changed. He had written kids' books. He had done for 15 years. But they was like, no, we don't believe you. You know, I mean, everybody came behind him. You know, everybody was pulling for him, writing letters to Congress and all that. And they was like, nope, you're going to go. Do you believe that when you say not broken, but don't you believe that people can literally change? A lot of folks I've seen have changed. So why would they not?
How can you change if all you're doing is sitting in a cell all day? You're not even given the opportunity to change.
So you're not a free person. You're not moving around outside.
You're not even allowed to program or do anything. So how can you change? You can't change. That's what I'm saying to you. When you're in an isolation situation like that, that's a setup for failure. You can't change. You can only be who you are. There's no opportunity for you to make a decision to do something different with your life because you're sitting in there and all you're thinking about is who you are and what you did. You don't have any new thoughts placed in you, new environments placed around you. How are you going to change? You can't change. You're not setting up a situation for change.
What about the ones who are who become Christians and Muslims in prison? And so don't they change? Don't they?
For one thing, okay, and that's a bone of contention with me.
Okay.
There are some who discover a higher power once they're incarcerated. Most of them come from an environment where there was some introduction to a higher power before they were ever incarcerated. So they don't find it in there. They just become an active, conscious part of that higher power and that belief system in there. There are some that do discover that higher power in there.
I mean, Malcolm X, how he went in and how he came out was totally different.
Because he was given an opportunity to make a choice, a conscious choice. What do they say? To be informed.
But in that, you don't get that opportunity.
Who doesn't?
And anybody in prison, there's not an opportunity for them to be able to take that conscious choice. And
that not if you're in isolation. No.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. All you're given is the choice to the religious choice. That's the only choice you're given, and that's thrown. A book is thrown at you, and the chaplain comes to see you. That's it. But you need to have an environment of change, especially if you've been in an extremely traumatic situation like isolation. Somebody's got to help you to transition.
Okay.
So that you can grow.
Right. So out of 27 years and even 3 or 4 more years since you've been working, you have to see some kind of change that happened in that system that when you first went in to where it is now.
There's been a lot of change in the system since when I first went into now.
Like what? I mean, make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the all button and all that kind of stuff, because we're going to have a lot of good interviews on this podcast.